Welcome to the Bible Quiz. Today we step onto the battlefield, 25 epic Bible battles, from Jericho's falling walls to a one-verse warrior with an ox goad, warriors, prophets, kings, and one archangel. Who fought? Let us find out. Question 1. Who led Israel to march around Jericho 7 times until the walls fell? A. Moses. B. Caleb. C. Phinehas. D. Joshua. You have 10 seconds. Excellent. It's D. Joshua. God gave Joshua an unusual military strategy. March around Jericho once daily for 6 days with 7 priests blowing trumpets. On the 7th day, march around 7 times, blow a long blast, and have all the people shout. Joshua, chapter 6, verses 15 to 16. They obeyed completely, and when the people gave a great shout, the wall of the city collapsed flat. Every man charged straight in, and they took the city. This was Israel's first military victory in Canaan, won entirely by radical obedience to a divine strategy rather than conventional weapons or tactics. Question 2. Who defeated 135,000 Midianites using only 300 men and torches? A. Gideon. B. Samson. C. Barak. D. Jephthah. 10 seconds on the clock. Remarkable. It's A. Gideon. God reduced Gideon's army from 32,000 to just 300, so Israel could not boast that their own strength had saved them. Judges, chapter 7, verse 2. The 300 surrounded the Midianite camp at night holding torches in clay jars and trumpets. At Gideon's signal, they smashed the jars, revealed the torches, and shouted. The 135,000-strong enemy panicked in the darkness, turned against each other, and fled in total confusion. Question 3. Which prophetess summoned Barak to lead Israel's army against Sisera? A. Miriam. B. Deborah. C. Hannah. D. Rachel. 10 seconds to choose. Brilliant. It's B. Deborah. Deborah summoned Barak and told him God commanded him to take 10,000 men to Mount Tabor against Sisera. Judges, chapter 4, verses 6 to 7. Barak replied, "If you go with me, I will go, but if you do not go, I will not." Deborah agreed but told him that a woman would receive the honor of the final blow. The Canaanite commander Sisera was indeed killed not by Barak but by Jael, a woman who drove a tent peg through his head while he slept in her tent. Question 4. Who struck down 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey? A. David. B. Jonathan. C. Samson. D. Ehud. Your 10 seconds begin. Outstanding. It's C. Samson. Judges, chapter 15, verses 15 to 16 records that Samson grabbed a fresh jawbone of a donkey and struck down 1,000 men. "With a donkey's jawbone I have made donkeys of them," he declared. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully on him for this extraordinary victory. He threw the jawbone away and called the place Ramath Lehi, meaning Jawbone Hill. This was one of many remarkable battles Samson fought alone against the Philistines, who had long oppressed the nation of Israel. Question 5. Who fought and killed the giant Goliath using a sling and stone? A. Saul. B. Abner. C. Jonathan. D. David. The clock starts now. Amazing! It's D. David. For 40 days, Goliath challenged Israel twice daily, and no soldier dared respond. David volunteered and said to Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel, chapter 17, verse 45. The stone struck the giant on the forehead and he fell face down. David cut off his head with Goliath's own sword, and the Philistine army fled in terror when they saw their champion was dead. Question 6. Who attacked a Philistine garrison with only his armor-bearer at his side? A. Jonathan. B. David. C. Saul. D. Eleazar. You have 10 seconds. Powerful. It's A. Jonathan. Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, "Perhaps the Lord will act for us. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few." 1 Samuel, chapter 14, verse 6. He climbed up and attacked the Philistine outpost. He and his armor-bearer killed about 20 men. Then panic struck the Philistine army, the ground shook, and the whole army was thrown into confusion. God turned a two-man raid into a national military victory for all of Israel. Question 7. Who led a rescue mission defeating 4 kings to recover his nephew Lot? A. Lot. B. Abraham. C. Isaac. D. Melchizedek. 10 seconds on the clock. Incredible! It's B. Abraham. When 4 kings defeated the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and took Lot captive, Abraham took 318 trained men born in his household and pursued them. Genesis, chapter 14, verses 14 to 16. He attacked at night and routed them, pursuing them northward. He recovered all the goods and brought back Lot and all the other captive people. This is the first recorded military campaign in Abraham's life, showing that the man of faith was also a man of decisive action when his family needed him. Question 8. Who kept his hands raised throughout a battle to secure Israel's victory? A. Joshua. B. Aaron. C. Moses. D. Caleb. 10 seconds to choose. Astonishing! It's C. Moses. During Israel's battle with Amalek at Rephidim, Moses held his staff raised over the battle. Exodus, chapter 17, verses 11 to 12. As long as Moses held up his hands, Israel prevailed. When his hands dropped, the Amalekites gained the advantage. When his hands grew tired, Aaron and Hur sat him on a stone and held up his hands, one on each side, until sunset. Joshua defeated the Amalekites completely that day. This extraordinary battle demonstrated that Israel's military victories depended on God's power exercised through prayer and intercession, not on human military strength or strategy. Question 9. Which king sent singers ahead of his army instead of soldiers? A. Asa. B. Hezekiah. C. Josiah. D. Jehoshaphat. Your 10 seconds begin. Magnificent. It's D. Jehoshaphat. When Moab and Ammon attacked with a vast army, God answered Jehoshaphat's prayer through a prophet. The battle is not yours but God's. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verse 15. Jehoshaphat appointed men to sing and praise as they marched ahead of the army. As they began singing, God set ambushes against the invaders and they destroyed each other. When Judah arrived at the lookout, they found only dead bodies. It took 3 days to collect the plunder. Question 10. Who challenged 450 Baal prophets to a fire contest on Mount Carmel? A. Elijah. B. Elisha. C. Micaiah. D. Jehu. The clock starts now. Splendid. It's A. Elijah. Elijah challenged the 450 Baal prophets to a contest. The God who answers by fire, he is God. 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 24. The Baal prophets cried out from morning until noon with no response. Elijah mocked them. Shout louder. Perhaps he is deep in thought or traveling. Then Elijah rebuilt the altar, doused it with water 3 times, and prayed one simple prayer. Fire fell from heaven, consuming the offering, the wood, the stones, the soil, and even the water in the trench. The watching people fell down and declared, "The Lord, He is God." All 450 Baal prophets were then seized and executed. Question 11. Under which king did an angel strike 185,000 Assyrian soldiers overnight? A. Josiah. B. Hezekiah. C. Manasseh. D. Uzziah. You have 10 seconds. Wonderful. It's B. Hezekiah. When Sennacherib of Assyria surrounded Jerusalem and mocked God, Hezekiah spread the letter before the Lord in the temple and prayed. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 15. Isaiah delivered God's response. I will defend this city. That night the angel of the Lord struck down 185,000 men in the Assyrian camp. When the survivors arose the next morning, there were the dead bodies. Sennacherib withdrew, returned to Nineveh, and was killed there by his own sons. Question 12. Who killed 600 Philistines single-handedly using an ox goad? A. Ehud. B. Samson. C. Shamgar. D. Gideon. 10 seconds on the clock. Glorious. It's C. Shamgar. Judges, chapter 3, verse 31 records this remarkable one-verse account. Shamgar, son of Anath, struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad and saved Israel. An ox goad was a long wooden stick with an iron point used to drive cattle. Shamgar used an agricultural tool as a weapon against a superior armed force and won a decisive victory. He is mentioned in Deborah's song in Judges chapter 5, verse 6 as a significant military figure, indicating his victory had real historical impact on the surrounding region during this period of Israel's history. Shamgar killed 600 soldiers with a farming tool. One verse, no hesitation, total victory. If stories like this are making you love God's Word, subscribe, share this video, and let us finish strong. Question 13. Who made a rash vow before defeating the Ammonites in battle? A. Gideon. B. Samson. C. Barak. D. Jephthah. 10 seconds to choose. Phenomenal. It's D. Jephthah. Before the battle against Ammon, Jephthah made a vow to God. If you give me victory, whatever comes out of my house first when I return, I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Judges, chapter 11, verses 30 to 31. He defeated the Ammonites in a great victory, subduing 20 cities. But when he returned home in triumph, it was his only daughter who came out first to meet him with dancing and tambourines. Jephthah tore his clothes and wept. The story ends in deep personal tragedy, serving as a sobering warning against making hasty, irreversible vows to God in moments of desperation. Question 14. Who assassinated the obese Moabite king Eglon with a hidden dagger? A. Ehud. B. Shamgar. C. Jephthah. D. Othniel. Your 10 seconds begin. Admirable. It's A. Ehud. Ehud was left-handed, which allowed him to conceal a short double-edged sword strapped to his right thigh. He came to King Eglon of Moab with tribute and said, "I have a secret message for you." Judges, chapter 3, verses 16 to 23. When they were alone, Ehud drew his sword and thrust it into the king's stomach. He left without being stopped. He then rallied Israel and blocked all the Moabite escape routes across the Jordan, and his forces killed 10,000 Moabite warriors that day. Question 15. Who killed the enemy commander Sisera with a tent peg while he slept? A. Deborah. B. Jael. C. Miriam. D. Rahab. The clock starts now. Beautiful. It's B. Jael. When the exhausted Sisera fled from the battle to Jael's tent, she welcomed him and gave him milk. When he fell asleep, Jael took a tent peg and hammer and drove the peg through his temple. Judges, chapter 4, verse 21. He died immediately. Deborah's song celebrates Jael as most blessed of women in tents, because her action fulfilled Deborah's prophecy that a woman would receive the honor of Sisera's defeat. Question 16. Which king prayed and defeated a 1,000,000-man Ethiopian army? A. Jehoshaphat. B. Hezekiah. C. Asa. D. David. You have 10 seconds. Extraordinary. It's C. Asa. Zerah the Cushite marched against Judah with an army of 1,000,000 men and 300 chariots. Asa cried out, "Lord, There is no one like you to help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, for we rely on you. 2 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 11. The Lord struck down the Ethiopians and they fled. The army of Judah pursued them and carried off large quantities of plunder. This stands as one of the most dramatic prayers in military history in the Old Testament. Question 17. Who led the heavenly army against Satan's forces in Revelation 12? A. Gabriel. B. Raphael. C. Uriel. D. Michael. 10 seconds on the clock. Stunning. It's D. Michael. Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9 records a dramatic war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But the dragon was not strong enough and lost his place in heaven. The great dragon, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, was cast to the earth along with all his angels. A loud voice in heaven declared, "Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God." Michael is also referenced in Jude chapter 9 as disputing with the devil himself over the body of Moses. Question 18. Which ruler of Israel was killed by a millstone dropped by a woman? A. Abimelech. B. Saul. C. Jehu. D. Absalom. 10 seconds to choose. Marvelous. It's A. Abimelech. Abimelech, who had killed 70 brothers to become king, besieged the tower at Thebez. When he approached the tower door to set it on fire, a woman dropped an upper millstone on his head and cracked his skull. Judges, chapter 9, verse 53. Not wanting it said that a woman killed him, Abimelech commanded his armor-bearer to run him through. He did so, and Abimelech died. Jotham's curse on Abimelech for murdering his brothers was finally and completely fulfilled. Question 19. Who won a two-front battle against Ammonites and Arameans at once? A. Abner. B. Joab. C. Abishai. D. Uriah. Your 10 seconds begin. Perfect. It's B. Joab. When the Ammonites hired an Aramean army against David, Joab found himself with enemies both in front and behind. 1 Chronicles, chapter 19, verses 10 to 13. He divided his forces, keeping the best warriors with himself to face the Arameans, while his brother, Abishai, led the rest against Ammonites. Joab said, "Be strong and let us fight bravely for our people." God gave victory on both fronts simultaneously, turning a dangerous two-front trap into a decisive victory. Question 20. Which king led Israel's first military victory at Jabesh Gilead? A. David. B. Samuel. C. Saul. D. Jonathan. The clock starts now. Insightful. It's C. Saul. When the Ammonite king Nahash threatened to gouge out the right eye of everyone in Jabesh Gilead, the Spirit of God came powerfully on Saul and his anger burned. 1 Samuel chapter 11 verses 6 to 11. He mustered a massive army and divided it into 3 columns, attacking the Ammonite camp during the final watch of the night. They slaughtered the enemy until the survivors were so scattered that no 2 of them were left together. This decisive victory confirmed the people's full confidence in Saul as their first king. Question 21. Who prayed and struck the Aramean army surrounding him with blindness? A. Elijah. B. Micaiah. C. Gehazi. D. Elisha. You have 10 seconds. Victorious. It's D. Elisha. When the Aramean king surrounded the city to capture Elisha, the prophet prayed for God to strike the enemy army blind. God instantly blinded them, and Elisha calmly led the troops into the heart of Samaria. Once their sight was restored inside Israel's stronghold, Elisha advised feeding and releasing them instead of fighting. Astonished by this merciful, non-violent victory, the Arameans completely stopped their raids against Israel. 2 Kings, chapter 6, verse 18. Question 22. Which king defeated the Philistines, Arabs, and Ammonites to restore Judah's power? A. Uzziah. B. Joash. C. Amaziah. D. Jehoshaphat. 10 seconds on the clock. Superb. It's A. Uzziah. 2 Chronicles, chapter 26, verses 6 to 8 records that Uzziah fought against the Philistines and broke down the walls of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. God helped him against the Philistines, the Arabs of Gur-Baal, and the Ammonites, who also paid tribute. His fame spread as far as the border of Egypt, and he became very powerful. Uzziah assembled an army of more than 307,500 trained troops equipped with shields, spears, helmets, coats of armor, and bows, plus machines for shooting arrows and hurling large stones. Question 23. Which king struck the ground only 3 times and limited his victories? A. Jeroboam II. B. Joash. C. Jehu. D. Elisha. 10 seconds to choose. Triumphant. It's B. Joash. As the dying Elisha lay sick, King Joash of Israel visited him weeping. Elisha told him to shoot an arrow east, the Lord's arrow of victory over Aram. He then told Joash to strike the ground with the arrows. 2 Kings, chapter 13, verses 18 to 19. Joash struck the ground only 3 times and stopped. Elisha was angry. You should have struck 5 or 6 times. You will defeat Aram only 3 times. Incomplete obedience produced incomplete victory. Question 24. Which righteous king died at Megiddo fighting Pharaoh Necho against God's will? A. Hezekiah. B. Asa. C. Josiah. D. Manasseh. Your 10 seconds begin. Exceptional. It's C. Josiah. When Pharaoh Necho marched through Israel, he sent messengers to Josiah. God has commanded me to hurry. Do not oppose God or he will destroy you. 2 Chronicles, chapter 35, verse 22. Josiah refused to listen and disguised himself to fight at Megiddo. Archers shot him and he was mortally wounded. He was carried from his chariot and died in Jerusalem. All Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah, and the prophet Jeremiah composed laments in his memory. No king before or after turned to God as completely as Josiah. Question 25. Who conquered Hebron at age 85, driving out the giant Anakims by faith? A. Joshua. B. Othniel. C. Phinehas. D. Caleb. The clock starts now. Sensational! It's D. Caleb. At 85 years old, Caleb declared to Joshua, "I am still as strong today as I was the day Moses sent me out." Joshua chapter 14, verse 11. He asked for the hill country where the great Anakims lived in large fortified cities, the same land that had terrified the other 10 spies 45 years earlier. Caleb drove out the 3 Anakim clans and took Hebron as his inheritance. His bold faith at such an advanced age makes him one of the most inspiring military figures in the Old Testament. Amazing job. 25 epic Bible battles. One fighter today was 85 years old and still asked for the toughest territory on the map. Quick bonus for the comments. How many years earlier had he first seen that same land as a spy? Drop your answer below. God bless you all.